long as you got Brock healthy, as long as you got Kyle Shanahan and relative health, you're always going to be in the mix. That's how I believe. You're going to be in the mix. As long as Brock's his guy and they're on the same page, you're going to be in the mix. But the rest of the league is going to get better. We saw this with the Warriors. Everybody, they won the championship in 2022. And then we're like, they're going to be even better in 2023. And we found out a lot of things happened. Internally and externally, the league got better. Denver rose to prominence, similar to the way Detroit looks right now. Mm-hmm. And the Warriors got older. Niners are older.
Real quick, yeah, people all just piling on Denver when they were down 0-2. They're probably going to win the finals. They're probably going to win the whole thing again. Like, come on.
I mean, Jokic goes for 40 yesterday.
I mean, I just hate to say that I was right, but I said Nuggets in 7 in this series when they were down 0-2. It's going to be Nuggets in 6.
Everybody's saying that Andy Reid lost his first 2 Super Bowls. I don't believe that. He lost one with the Eagles.
Super Bowl with the Eagles.
And then won his second one in appearance with the Chiefs, correct?
Correct. He never went to 2 Super Bowls with the Eagles.
He lost the second one after winning the first Super Bowl.
He started his career 1-2 in Super Bowls. Yep. By the way, looking at the futures right now, I'm on DraftKings, Joe Shasky. The Super Bowl champion odds right now for 2025. Kansas City's number 1. Who's number 2?
The Niners.
Right there. Plus 600. Chiefs plus 550. So it's not that far off.
It's not that bad.
The Ravens are plus 900. So there's a gap right there. The Vegas thinks it's pretty tight between the Niners and Chiefs still.
I mean, we all do, but there is, like, football's such a violent sport. When I look at Detroit, the reason why I think they can get better is because Sam Laporta was a rookie last year. Mm-hmm. Jahmyr Gibbs was a rookie last year. All of their guys have not hit their prime outside of Goff.
Ben Johnson staying there, by the way, is massive for them, the offensive coordinator.
Aiden Hutchinson. That was their first playoff run. Mm-hmm. The Niners have been, with this core, on a playoff run for at minimum of 3 straight years.
And they just added to the secondary. Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, the first-round pick. They traded back up in that first round to go grab him. I think that's a great addition because their secondary, we saw it in the NFC Championship, leaking oil.
Of course. Yeah. But that's why I believe they can get better. Now, do the Niners have a couple of younger guys? Yeah. But Warner's getting up there in age, and linebacker is, like running back, a position you could fall off a cliff. Dre Greenlaw's already hurt. We don't know what he'll be like when he comes back.
Achilles are tricky. Soft tissue is very tough.
Trent?
He's old.
He's as old as you could be.
Did not have a great Super Bowl.
No.
If we're just going to keep it a buck.
And I thought got worked a little by Aiden Hutchinson in the first half.
Yes.
And then I look at, like, Nick Bosa's still in his prime. I think Nick Bosa can have a better year this year than last year.
You were going in on Nick a little bit a couple days ago. You expect a lot from him this year.
Absolutely. He's still a great player, but, like, I demand more of my all-time greats.
When you win, when you set the bar high with Defensive Player of the Year, that's the standard you have set.
And last year was not that. It wasn't close.
No, it was still really good because he just has that much talent, God-given ability, and he was still one of the best, but he wasn't in that upper echelon.
Did Debo have a great year last year? I thought it was spotty by his standards.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Ayuk had a phenomenal year. That's what overshadowed it.
I
Ayuk
agree.
was just amazing.
When you look at Ayuk's efficiency and you look at his numbers, it's hard for me to say he could get better. That's as good as you... That might be the height of production, but I don't see him falling off the cliff.
Just by the product of the offense too, Joe. It's so hard. It's so hard with those limited targets when it's getting spread around that much. When you're a run-first team, now you're adding, I don't know what Ricky Pearsall is going to be like. Is he going to be feeding into those targets?
Well, is Kittle going to get more looks? Is Debo in a contract year? Is he going to be demanding the ball more? So I look at Brock Purdy. Can he get better? Yeah, possibly. Absolutely. I'll leave that open. I think he can get better. Synergy, full off season, more weapons, a little better pass protection. Yeah, as wild as that sounds, I do believe Purdy can get even better, right? In terms of his familiarity with the offense and just playing in the league and understanding things, Brady and Rodgers and Breeze, the great quarterbacks, are better 5 years in, 10 years in. Mm-hmm. So I expect him to get better. The offensive line, they were really good last year.
McKivitz, down on my guy?
No, I'm saying they were really good last year. I have a hard time saying they could be even better, but they could. But I look at the defense, and that's where I worry about them being better, right? That defense, I do worry about. Also, the running back. McCaffrey had 400 touches last year. I just don't know how many more years he's got in his prime. I'm not doubting him. I'm just saying, we see this with running backs. Sometimes, boom, you're done. It just happens. I hope it doesn't happen with him. So I don't know with him. That's a question mark.
Yes.
And to me, defense is a question mark.
He's going to be 28, Christian McCaffrey, in the next month. That is the age for running backs where you start getting a little nervous. Now, is he going to be an outlier like a Derrick Henry, like we have seen with Steph Curry, LeBron James? We'll see. He's an all-time great. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And sometimes those guys, can play a little bit longer than most. But again, wear and tear is so damn scary, and soft tissue injuries frighten me for a guy like Christian McCaffrey. We're talking about Super Bowl windows closing right now, Joe Shasky. And has it closed for the 49ers? Steve Young thought it last year was their chance. And I kind of feel like the same way. I feel like it's going to be very difficult to go back to back. We just saw the Kansas City Chiefs do it in wins. But man, I just, how can you not feel like they squandered their opportunity last year?
Well, it feels
are we just going to expect them to go back? It just doesn't happen like that.
Doesn't it feel like they're in a similar zone to where Peyton Manning was?
Yeah.
In the middle of his career. Like, I feel very similar about, like, Kyle Shanahan has a almost Peyton Manning-like feel to him currently. No one questions the mind.
No.
No one questions how great he is within the sport. No one questions the regular season, really.
But the biggest moments.
Exactly.
The biggest of the big. And Peyton had some good playoff games. He did. But what do we remember him for?
Kind of coming up a little short in the playoffs.
Yes, he wasn't the greatest playoff quarterback or big game quarterback there was. Honestly, the lasting image I have of him,
what's that?
It's not beating the Bears. It's not being a shell of himself and beating the Carolina Panthers at Levi Stadium in Super Bowl 50. It's the ball getting snapped over his head against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And that just dumbfounded look on his face, like, oh, there goes my chances of winning a ring right now. Like,
what age did Peyton Manning win the Super Bowl?
Hold on. It was 2006 against the Bears, I want to say. He was 7 years in. Hold on.
06.
Yes. He was going to be, what was he, 22 when he came out, 21? Say he was 28 years old.
He was 30 years old.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ninth year.
Okay, so I thought he came in, when did he come in? 98? 90? Okay, so I thought okay. Wow.
And the reason why I put Peyton Manning in there is I consider Peyton to be the perfect blend of artist and science.
He also had a big rival, and there was another team in that conference in the New England Patriots that have did so much winning. I don't think there's a team like that. I know the Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl. I don't think there's a team like that you are scared of, though. Like you would be scared if you're the Colts with the Patriots, if you're the Niners right now.
It's the Mahomes factor, except you're
exactly, but
in
it's
the
in the
Super
other
Bowl.
exactly. You have
except
to wait till get
in
there.
The Super Bowl,
and you're
right?
just hoping that maybe a Herbert knocks him off this year,
exactly,
or Lamar Jackson or something like that.
Exactly, and so
because you'll take your chances against any of those teams if I'm the Niners.
No question.
It's just Patrick Mahomes is the boogeyman right now.
But I do believe that Peyton Manning as a quarterback and Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, there are a lot of similarities. There are. No one questions the brilliance in terms of regular season dominance, of how to set things up. There are specific situations, and this is when you know you're good at your craft. All the regular season stuff almost feels irrelevant. And then we go right to, can you win the big one? Durant found himself in this exact same zone after facing the Warriors in that conference finals. He felt the same exact heat. Can you win the big one? Well, we know you're great during the regular season. Can you win the big one?
It's Tatum and Brown right now with Boston, right? No one cares about the East Finals. No offense.
But I don't know. Do you think Tatum and Brown are viewed the way a Shanahan, a Peyton Manning, and a Durant were viewed? Well, like everyone says he's an elite player.
I do think
elite coach.
I do think they are the two young guys right now that have already gotten to a finals, and they are expected. They've been the best team in basketball regular season-wise the last couple seasons. And what's happened? They've come up short. They got upset against the Miami Heat. Yeah. It's been kind of a major disappointment. And they are synonymous with winning in that sport. They are the Dallas Cowboys. They are the New England Patriots. They're the Boston Celtics, Joe. It's them and the Lakers that have the most titles in that sport. And they're expected, now that LeBron's fading out, now that Stephen Curry's fading out, now that Kevin Durant, who's going to be that next one to take it? Well, Jamal Murray and Jokic did it last year. The East is down. They're expected, almost kind of like the NFC's down, that the Niners are expected to get through there, or at least fans expect that. I think the same way with the Boston Celtics. If they get to the finals, you know what? You better win it because you had an easy path there. No offense, Ken, to your Knicks. But that's just the reality. Like, that's the expectation set in Boston right now for them. And if they lose, they're looking like, man, we've been to 2 finals now and we haven't won one. Do we tear it down? Do we start trading people? Do we decide, do we move off Brown? Do we move off Tatum? They have these massive contracts.
Yeah.
So that's for the 49ers, it's different because football is different and you have a young quarterback to be, excited about. But if they don't meet expectations this year, I am curious to see what that Brock Purdy contract looks like. I am very curious to see what happens with Kyle Shanahan, this team, and this offense going forward. Because their window right now, this is the last year for it. I'm confident in saying this is the last year of the Super Bowl window as we know it for the 49ers.
Well, we'll get into how they can sustain it because Steve Young had some thoughts with Willard and Dibbs about once you give Brock Purdy the contract, there are some specific things that you have to do as an organization to remain elite and stay competitive. I keep going back to Shanahan and the regular season. Dusty Baker was a guy, everywhere he went, he immediately flipped the script, and that team went from loser to winner. But then he would get into the playoffs, and he would find the most horrific ways to lose a series. Horrific. And I had joked that he was the Marty Schottenheimer of baseball. Well, Kyle Shanahan and Dusty have very similar track records. Now, Dusty traveled more around the league than Kyle Shanahan.
Both well respected in their sports.
But do you view Dusty different now that he finally won one at the end?
I think for Dusty, we always knew he was a great manager, but it just solidified what we already, like, in the Bay Area thought. And then nationally, I think it did.
Yeah, absolutely, I do believe nationally it did. It cemented him.
And what he was able to do to extinguish, not all of it, but most of the hate of the Houston Astros, because they put a face in Dusty that everyone respects.
Everyone was rooting for him.
That is what the Astros needed, was a respect factor back, because they lost all of it with the whole cheating scandal. AJ Hinch moved on, all the lack of suspensions, but you still had Bregman, you still had Altuve there. They needed someone to be that face, and Dusty was perfect for that.
He was. And I look at Shanahan, and I feel like there are more people that root against Shanahan than that root for him.
That? Does he rubs people the wrong way, doesn't he? I think because he is so well thought of around the league, and rightfully so. Like, just look at all the innovation from the Shanahan coaching tree going back to his dad.
Yeah.
And maybe there is something to that, his father being in there and winning at the highest level.
Well, I think there is an element of people do
but he's earned it.
But I do believe people, because of nepotism, are quick to criticize. And that might not be the defining reason why, but I do believe that subconsciously is part of it.
Which is unfair, because I think he's earned it. You just go back. I mean, he's been in Cleveland.
He's earned it?
Cleveland.
He's clearly earned it.
Cleveland, Texans, the Falcons, and now with the and obviously started with the Buccaneers and John Gruden way back when. But now, come on. I mean, 2 Super Bowls, what he's been able to do with this organization. That was a dumpster fire when he arrived here.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, he has been amazing for this franchise. That being said, this is a market of champions. We view this market and the San Francisco Bay Area market as a championship market.
See, but this is where I get frustrated. So on 4th and 2 in the overtime in the Super Bowl, Bosa gets a stop on Mahomes, and everything we say about Shanahan is different. How unfair is that?
That's just
the margins are so thin.
It's the nature of the beast. I didn't write the playbook, Joe Shasky. I'm just here to read it to you.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, to me, I find that to be so absurd. Like, it's one thing we can argue about Farhan not being good enough. It's evidence. Like, the evidence is overwhelmingly they're not good enough. But, like, Shanahan's a loser because he loses at the end in the final game to maybe the greatest quarterback ever.
I mean, it is.
I find that to be such a difficult evaluation for me to. I don't like it.
It's America, Joe Shasky. We have the Olympics coming up here. That is our mindset. We want to win at the highest level. Why do you think we're sending LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards to Paris? The world's gotten better, and we need to check them because we're supposed to be the best of the best of the best.
But people are like, "Oh, you're a loser, Shanahan. You failed in the Super Bowl." Failing is going 6-11. Failing is what the Giants have done 5 of the 6 years of Farhan's tenure. Failing is whatever you want to say the Chris Cohan era was of the Golden State Warriors. Shanahan is the farthest thing from a failure. But it pisses me off when I hear people say he's a loser.
It speaks to what he has established and the culture that he has set and the standard that he has set.
That's true.
Even saying that because you know what, Joe Shasky? He has set such a high standard with this team and with that level of play that they expect to win at the highest level. And when you don't, I'm sorry, it is a failure. It is a failure now with the 49ers. That is the standard they have set. That is the teams like the Bengals. That is the teams like the Bills. That are teams like the Chiefs, when they don't win, the Eagles, it's a failure of a season. I'm sorry, but that's a good thing. I know we're trying to we're trying to say it's a good thing that's the standard right now. I'm not here to say he's a loser. I think that's a different conversation. I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan's a loser. The team failed their ultimate goal.
I do believe he's got. Peyton was more lovable, but I do believe like Durant, in the way we view Durant's mean. Durant's arrogant. He's salty. He's angry. Please. I do believe there's a misnomer about Kyle Shanahan. He's arrogant.
When you win, though, it changes. What did we say about Kobe once he started winning? Oh, it's different. He just expects more of his team. He's showing up early. He's grinding. He's getting on that. That's just what I love that you say. That's just a championship mindset.
But do you see how see how people perceive Shanahan? I get a lot of Durant vibes where they just don't like him, and I find it kind of weird.
It's body language, I guess, but it's just the way he speaks to the media. Maybe people don't. It rubs it. But even then, like, it's just I don't. What do you want from your head coach to speak to the media? Like, do you want him
George
to be?
Seifert was miserable, and people longed for George Seifert to come back, and I'm like. And I love George Seifert, but come on.
Would it be different? And I get it. This guy, and we're up against it. I know the injury report's coming up in just 10 seconds. Sean McVay won the title, but I do think the way he speaks and he has that smile on his face.
He's a kiss ass.
But people like that.
I know.
So it is different.
I know. You're right.